Cheers.
Cheers! Well, welcome to Volume 10 of the Foxwell Digital Download.
10th one.
10th one. And
How about that?
we thought we'd have a little happy hour to kick off this version. We heard from a lot of you that you guys liked the video, so we thought, what the hell, let's do another video. Bring Wingra in if she so chooses to join us. She's currently at our feet, destroying about 36 toys from her Aunt Leah and Uncle Dan. So in the meantime, though, we'd like to share some digital news of the month.
Absolutely.
Of Rocktober, if you will. So starting off with some Facebook updates to the platform and to ad units. What do you feel like is the most important to share?
Well, I mean, I think the big one, Facebook groups, they announced that they're going to have ads in Facebook groups, so that's interesting. The second thing that they announced is that Facebook ads, and they haven't officially announced about this, but we know it's coming, that Facebook ads are going to be in Facebook Messenger.
Rolling out.
So they're going to be rolling out in Facebook Messenger as well. Unclear what those look like, but the thing that becomes evident of them talking about this that we've heard about before, and you may have heard about as well, is what Facebook calls the ad load. So how many ads are actually in the Facebook newsfeed or on the Facebook desktop? And basically they're running out of space, to be totally honest with you. So,
And some people would probably argue that they have run out of space
yeah.
already. So hence the need to diversify the locations for where those ad units should go. So the groups are an interesting one. I was reading up on this in TechCrunch earlier, is that groups have been around as long as Facebook has been around. They're 10 plus years old, and they haven't really been monetized ever. It's always just been this place where people can geek out on their love of golden doodles or good wine, or if you're in Andrew's case, flannel, you know, that kind of thing. But now it can be monetized with marketers saying, we want to use these groups that are focused on buying and selling anyway, and, you know, gear some ads towards them.
Yeah, and I think the other, groups, they rolled out now Marketplace,
Yeah.
which is the next thing that basically Facebook groups are being used for sort of a Craigslist-like purpose.
Yeah.
And were used in a way that people are exchanging goods and a lot of neighborhoods. I can't believe the amount of things. I'm on the one for Madison. The amount of stuff that's on there that people put on there. It's a lot. So there's a stickiness to groups, and they've now decoupled that as an app. So you'll be able to choose that as a placement soon, I would imagine, probably after the first of the year, be able to choose a Facebook group.
And in classic Facebook fashion, they're rolling it out to certain countries in smaller, instances to begin with before they roll it out to all of the U.S.
I think what they'll probably do, if I were to guess, is they'll have Facebook groups that you'll be able to say, I want to hit groups that are centered around cars, or groups that are centered around shopping, or whatever, right? And it's like a categorical thing,
because that would category within shopping.
That would make
retail versus
that's
like.
True. That'd make a lot of sense, because
cooking or
a lot of people, you may have heard this before, and we've talked about this. There's a sort of a black hat bad thing that people do or have done in the past, where they actually take off of Facebook groups, they take user IDs.
Yeah, so this is not that.
This is not that.
No, so this is sanctioned advertising within the group.
Right.
So this isn't stealing, usernames of who you think would be your most likely interested customers. This is paying money to advertise to them on the platform.
Exactly.
So what about some other new ad units that have rolled out recently? Andrew's given a couple of presentations, both here in Madison and then with some of our clients as of late, about these new ad units and what they can kind of do for their bottom line.
Well, the first one that's interesting is video carousels.
Yeah.
To me, video carousels are out there. They allow you to use the carousel ad format, but actually just have videos in the carousels, which is cool.
That morph into one kind of continuous.
You could have it morph into one continuous thing. So Target has a famous example of a woman walking in between different parts of a beach scene or something.
Just interrupt? I love that we're so nerdy that we're already calling like a video carousel famous.
Yeah, it's not famous.
Yeah, it's not famous.
To like 12 people on Earth. but here's what video carousels, in my opinion, are cool for. They allow you to say, like a standard carousel with multiple things, they allow you to say different value propositions of what you're trying to sell. So if you have multiple products,
Right.
you can talk about multiple
You
products.
can introduce them.
And in this way, let's say we launch one for Foxwell Digital, we could have a video carousel that has 3 different panes on it. One of the first video is like, "Hey, I'm Andrew. Hope you're having a great day. We do Facebook marketing." And then, we also do this, and then the next one could be like, "Hey, I'm Gracie. I'm an editor. I do writing." And you could talk about the different parts of it.
Right.
And then the third one would clearly be the dog, because that's the one people would click on.
I'm actually a little concerned. She's really going to town over here on something that could very well be a choking hazard.
I'm getting there.
In the meantime, though, video carousels, slideshows, cinemagraphs. What's a cinemagraph? Do you guys know what cinemagraphs are?
Well, cinemagraphs are here she is. Say hi, Wingra. She's like, "This stinks." Hi, people. Who's that? Hi, digital download audience. Okay, there you go. Have fun. So cinemagraphs are really interesting. They are essentially a static image that allow you to animate a part of that image. So just go ahead and Google cinemagraphs.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of difficult to explain because
really weird.
The image doesn't move, but a certain item within an image can move and be animated. Wingra is now climbing on our dining room table.
Trying to get back the pumpkin. So I'm going to go ahead and take it away from her.
Okay, moving on, even though we've lost one of our co-hosts here. Messenger ads we've talked about. What about brand awareness and reach and frequency buying?
So brand awareness, just kind of coming on that, brand awareness is interesting. And this is one that I would really, really encourage you to take a hard look at if you're doing ads in a very small geographic area.
Yeah.
So I'm really obsessed with this concept lately. On Facebook, I think the number is something like 60 to 80% of people on Facebook never engage with an ad. Okay, so they go through or they never engage with content either. They sort of are passive.
Yes, consumers
on the platform. Many of you may be like this. You're like, I read stuff here and there, but really I just look through it and then I don't do anything.
Right.
And so there's a huge swath of people that aren't in this category of people that interact on Facebook. Okay, so this is interesting because when we launch an ad and you launch an ad, there's the objective, right? Which is basically saying,
what's your goal?
My goal is to get clicks to the website.
Right.
My goal is to get people that engage with content. My goal is to whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Brand awareness, when it first came out, I was like, this is super fluffy because it's making people aware of your brand. Like that
and
doesn't
how do you
do
measure
anything,
that?
right? Yeah, the measurement of it is actually still a little bit weird. But we have a client that is trying to hit a very specific area, very, very specific geographic area, and people in a certain age range. So young people in certain zip codes. And we've had a hard time getting in front of those people.
Well, getting in front of them to do a certain task.
Right. So we launched these ads in brand awareness and in the post-engagement example. So we launched them for a certain budget. And in a week of running post-engagement ads in 4 different cities with that objective of getting engagement, we had 1,000 impressions total in each of the cities. So, which, I mean, that's not really that many, right?
Yeah.
1,000 impressions should be easy to get. We switched over the objective to brand awareness, and we had 11,000 impressions.
Yeah.
On 11,000, between 11,000 impressions and 15,000 impressions for all 4 cities.
Because the ad was geared more toward people who would appreciate that type of viewership or engagement and not necessarily they're going to take an action like that they've been geared toward before.
Yeah. I just think it's really interesting because it's not based upon an action.
Right.
It's to get awareness, truly. And if you're trying to hit that small geographic area, it's a great way to get in front of as many people that you can to do that. So brand awareness is a new ad unit that they've really started to roll out that I think is worth testing.
Would you kind of compare it to like Facebook's version of a billboard ad?
Yeah, it's basically a display advertisement,
Yeah.
Pretty much is what it looks like. But anyway, I think that's really cool. And reach and frequency buying, not for people that aren't spending that much money, but there's a new thing that you can do if you know of or are a large media company. One thing you can do if you're going to do a TV buy or something else is you can actually, or even like a print mailer, you can now use Facebook in a way that is sort of like that.
Mirrors that.
So it's with reach and frequency, the goal is to get as many people to see it like brand awareness. And frequency, you can control the amount of times that they see it.
Yeah.
So you basically say, I want people to see 2 impressions every 7 days, or 3 impressions every 5 days, or you can kind of control that, and then they'll help you also with a reach and frequency buy design the audiences.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. So
next up, you and I always geek out on this because it's Facebook's weird naming conventions, which I don't know if it's just like 3 people in like the backseat of a car on the way to work, and they're like, we just still haven't named this. And Zuck's going to want to see this today. Let's just name it this. Mm-hmm. So one of them being engagement custom audiences.
And Facebook may have changed the name on these, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a better name. But basically, engagement custom audiences.
And they do rename things.
In terms of audiences, is a great, great tool. So what engagement custom audiences is it actually allows you to create an audience of people that have done something, specifically around a video ad, a lead ad, or a canvas. And if you don't know about a lead ad or a canvas, those are less popular. Let's talk about the video ad. And it allows you to basically create an audience of people that have watched a certain percentage of your video. Mm-hmm. So it's like a retargeting.
Yes.
Ad, right? They've watched, let's say, 95% of your video. Like, you're going to want to talk to those people.
And it's even more powerful retargeting. It's not just the people that have been there and you feel like check stuff out, but the people that have been there, check stuff out, and checked it out for a long time.
Well, they watch your video and they like you, and if you especially have a video that's longer, that can be pretty cool and pretty powerful.
Another new targeting option is previous website visitors that haven't returned.
Yeah, a common one. This is the people that are, some people call them dead leads or something like that, right? So you haven't heard from these people, you don't know what they do. And so they've come to your website. You can create an audience now, people that have come to your website but haven't been back in a certain amount of time. So that's a really, really great one. And the other one that's really fantastic that I would actually give my top recommendation to is the custom audiences, website custom audiences that are based upon time on site.
Yes.
Those are the ones that are the best. You basically can create an audience of people that are your top 5%, your top 10%, or your top 25% of all web visitors. And that's a really, really powerful tool that it actually looks at how long they spend on your website and then allows you to create an audience from that.
So for you, that'd be like LL Bean.
I mean, for me, it'd be something dealing with like outdoors or flannel purchasing probably.
REI.
How to be a great golden doodle dad.
Right. Blogs. Okay, next up, the kind of darlings that Silicon Valley create, and then the ones that fall so fast, so hard. So I think you can probably guess where I'm going here with Snap Inc. and Twitter. So Twitter right now is basically shopping for a buyer. This is, all over the news. Mm-hmm. And it hasn't really been clearly stated several buyers have passed, most recently Salesforce. Before that, it hasn't been clearly stated on how much or what they walked away from. Obviously, we don't know those details. But there's been rumors in various articles that we'll link in this video that Microsoft walked away, that Disney walked away, which is interesting. And really the strongest thing that Twitter has going for it right now is, and I found this very interesting, is its customer service channel. That compared to all other social media platforms, it is a customer service like destination.
Oh, I think that's totally true. I mean, so let's talk about Snap. Can we talk about that first, or do you want to talk about Twitter? So Snap Incorporated, now there's Snapchat's now Snap, which is
parent company of Snapchat.
Snapchat's trying to ready itself for an IPO. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing, I think to me as a nerd on this, the thing I think is fascinating is that they are considering going in an IPO, and they have zero ad tech, basically.
Seemingly, but a lot of promise.
Right.
So here's some numbers on that. So its valuation, Snap's, could be as much as $25 billion, based purely on it doesn't have a ton of revenue yet, but based purely on the promise of revenue. And here's what's tricky is that Twitter had the same promise. Twitter had the same promise at its valuation and its public IPO. So, anyway, Snap reports right now 150 million daily active users, 235 million monthly active users, with growth rates of 30%. So it's promising that revenue because it's basically saying to investors, look, we're going to get our ad units in line, trust us, and we've got that user growth to prove it. Twitter, on the other hand, doesn't. It has 310, give or take 310 million average monthly users, but its user growth is completely stagnant. So while it has users now, it's not really reaching into new depths, and Snap's biggest bone is that it's got young people. So it has over 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds in the United States, period. So those people are likely affluent young people that are going to keep spending time online as they go through, college and their first jobs and young adulthood.
Yeah.
And so they're probably only going to spend more time on tech. So it's interesting. It's kind of like, it sounds like a very similar story. Like it's almost like a Twitter echo here on this, but Snap is really trying to differentiate itself.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this for hours, and I won't because it may be boring to you on this. But here's the thing that I think, first of all, about Snapchat. So let's talk about Snapchat as a product of Snap Incorporated. It's very sticky. It moves the experience of TV watching and decouples it and creates your own customized TV channel that you watch and browse through, and you see what you want. It combines things from friends and from brands. It's extremely effective at
visual
that.
storytelling.
Visual storytelling. I mean, but if you watch snaps from large brands, or Snap Stories, really what I'm talking about, they are like a TV show.
Right.
That's all that it is. So it's short, quick content that is actually interesting. We talked about this before. Vertical video. It's not horizontal. It's all vertical. And that's
specifically for mobile.
Specifically for mobile. And I think that's how a lot of people are getting their news.
Yeah.
And so that is interesting to me. If you are trying to court millennials, it's clear that you need to have a story that you're telling. You also need to be able to have consistent video that you're creating in an interesting way that is going, that's part of your plan. Like, you can't be being like, we want to sell to people under 30 and be like, I guess we should have video more often. Like, you should have video integrated into everything that you do in your process.
And not just video, but video that's cool as hell.
Yeah, cool as hell video. And then the Twitter piece that I think is interesting, Twitter is essentially, they shut down Vine today. That's the news.
Yeah.
And they're bought it for $30 million. They're writing that down.
Yeah.
Twitter is going through this sort of existential crisis because what's interesting is they have the ad tech. They actually have, their ad tech is quite good. A lot of people have used it. It's not as easy as Facebook.
It's much improved.
But it's much improved from where it was.
Yeah.
The challenge that people have now with Twitter is the user growth, and that's it. And it's not sticky.
Yeah.
It's that people that don't use Twitter don't get it. I don't know about anybody on this, but whenever people talk about Twitter, they always say, why are people, it's like sharing photos of my lunch? I'm like, nobody does that on Twitter.
You're like, no, it's political rants.
Unfollow them.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but if you are somebody that's trying to understand the media landscape, and you're somebody that's trying to, or maybe you are in the media or whatever, Twitter is a way to plug into industry leaders and a way to plug into the news that is unlike any other. And it gives you access to things. And I think the customer service one is really, really important, right? That's where people go. And if you're an organization that doesn't have that, social customer service is imperative, which this is kind of old news. You probably already know this, but I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, and this is some of the stories we're going to link, that a recent study found that 67% of Twitter's daily active users utilize the platform for customer service. Primarily. They're not using it really for anything else. They're really connecting with brands or saying they have a complaint or a compliment, and they're using that channel for that. So with this study, it discovered that 93% of brands, however, are not responding sufficiently to these type of customer service requests. The best they found who did it was Nike, which is very interesting. And Nike responded to 96% of inquiries on the Twitter platform. So that's good and bad. That's probably mostly bad, actually. Probably mostly customer complaints and I had this shipping issue or what have you. So if you have a staff dedicated to that, just think about how much revenue that could be making up for it.
Yep.
Okay, back to Snap on its potential. You were saying that you felt like the ad potential still isn't realized. But, so this was just rolled out a couple weeks ago. Instead of sharing ad revenue from its content producers, Snap has basically rolled out that they are going to pay content partners a flat license fee.
I don't know. That to me, it seems like I don't know if that can live. That's really nuanced in the ad industry, so it may not be super relevant.
But it's the same model that TV uses, and like
right.
when you do an ad buy like
right.
that.
I mean, I don't think that's sustainable. I mean, maybe to larger people it is. Mm-hmm. It's like licensing stuff like Twitter has done.
Yeah, for like a Nike or something.
But I think to me, the question that has to be answered is, because right now we use Snapchat and Snapchat geofilters for clients. And it's the interface is like very rudimentary. You don't get any reporting really, and you use Google Maps to draw the geofence. So it's very
you physically draw it.
Right. It's very basic, right? So my thing is, if they're going to continue this and they're going to say, all right, look, we want to be able to create, we want to be able to sell to small businesses and whatever.
Yeah.
They have to make that process less clunky, and you have to make it more powerful in terms of the targeting instead of just blanketing ages and whatever.
And you have to have a better ROI than just a promise.
That'll be interesting to see what that sounds like. I mean, I think Snapchat certainly feels, and they're very LA. No offense to those of you that are in LA. I'm thinking about David, but they feel that they're the smartest person in the room, or the coolest person,
or that they're kind of like anti-establishment Silicon Valley. Like they haven't taken offers to be bought out. They've kind of gone around.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see what that looks like, and I don't know at this point what it IPOs at. I don't know if it's a good buy because there's nothing there yet that shows a scalability to me in terms of building out ads.
On that, their annual revenue right now is slated at $376 million, according to Bloomberg.
It's very close to our revenue.
Which
very close.
I'm honestly baffled. Like, I need to dive into that. I don't even know how that's possible at this point. How they're making $376 billion already. Excuse me. Million. Sorry. They're not worth more than Facebook. But it's expected to rise to nearly $1 billion in just a few years.
Wow.
But again, this is like forecasting.
Speculative.
Yeah.
Speculative.
Yeah. Anyway, the rise and fall of the starlets.
Yeah.
Okay, back to a few more platform rollouts on Facebook that we didn't talk about earlier, but I think are really cool, and I'm actually could see myself using them often. We mentioned this briefly at the end of the last Foxwell Digital download video about like ability to use Fandango to get movie tickets in your newsfeed.
Oh, yeah.
But now it's more like of a local component of getting recommendations from friends when you're traveling or when you're touring a new city, getting recommendations of places to eat or things to do. So that'll populate right in your newsfeed if you turn on that feature. And discovering local events, like if you're in a new area or you're just like downtown for the night and you want to know what's up, and ordering food and requesting appointments. So like spa services or salon services or things like that.
I mean, to me, Facebook is like trying to take in any canal that they can to trying to be the only app that you use.
Keeping you on the platform. Yeah. They don't want to lose you to Yelp. And just like what we talked about earlier in Marketplace, they don't want to lose you to Craigslist or an eBay.
I mean, so I think we talked last month about Messenger, or we've talked about it in the written one the month before. I mean, Messenger with all these bots and the things that they're creating, those are all putting it together and making it so you could eventually like order an Uber from Facebook Messenger. Okay.
Yeah.
So now with this, that's sort of what they're doing. They're also having it integrations so you can buy right on Facebook with tickets or movie tickets or
services,
whatever it is you want to do. There you can connect into that and do it right from the app. Not sure how it looks and works in practice yet.
Right, just starting to be rolled out in beta. But the thing is that you're also more apt and more likely to do something when a local friend recommends it or when a trusted family member says you should check this out.
Right.
So I wonder how that will be incentivized like monetarily. I'm curious.
I'm not sure. I mean, how it's incentivized monetarily in terms of being like, hey, you should get your restaurant on this or something.
Yeah, and just, I mean, frankly, Andrew and I work with a lot of small businesses, and new ad units are a lot for them to keep up with on how they should write the copy, on how they should develop the creative, on how that can be, the catchiest thing that they put their marketing efforts towards.
Yeah.
So it's got to be clear and direct and succinct in so many ways that maybe other ad units haven't been.
So here's the vision that I have, and vision is not using it as a pun. It's very intentional. That the vision being virtual reality. Okay, so I don't think it's that impossible that in 5 years, maybe, if you're going to check out a restaurant, you go on Facebook to look at the restaurant and you see what the reviews are, and then you actually pull up a 360 video virtual reality thing of you looking around the restaurant and what it's like during a busy time, and you're standing in the middle of it. That's clear that that's not like that far away. And so I think what they're trying to say is, of the experiences that we use technology for, restaurant reviews, communication with one another, sharing experiences, how can we integrate ourselves with every single one of those? Recommendations is a huge, what I would call like a social trigger, asking people for recommendations, sharing experiences with other people, sharing photos, helping them, like wanting to feel cool about sharing a photo of where you are.
Plan their trip.
Exactly. So if you think about what those are in your life, that's what Facebook's trying to go after. And I think this integration is just making it better for Facebook advertisers, makes it better for us, makes it better for you guys that are advertising on Facebook and Instagram, because the data is better. People are spending more time there. They know more about what's happening, and it makes it more accurate and makes your dollars spent more effectively.
And people do this now organically. People throw up a post and say like, hey, going to Austin for the first time, any ideas?
Right.
But what this changes is that folks will be able to comment on that post specifically. Their responses will be categorized and mapped for you, and saved in one place. So it's not like you have to return to the post and scroll down to see what Andrew said about, Austin bar scenes.
Right.
I mean, you have a lot of thoughts on.
Not in Austin. I don't have any, Austin's a great city.
Yeah.
I don't have any thoughts on the bar scene specifically, but if you do, you can send them to us. Andrew at foxwelldigital.com.
I thought you had thoughts on bar scenes everywhere.
I mean, it's a very cowboy bar scene. If you're into the honky tonk, Shinerbach, very similar to that Nashville feel. So throw on the boots if you want to do that.
But essentially, just to wrap up this topic, Facebook has stated publicly on their blog that they want to, quote, make the yellow pages come alive.
Ah, yes. That's good.
Maybe exciting.
Mike Manning wrote that.
Probably. Yeah. Our friend Mike, Wisconsinite. All right. Anything else you want to chat about? We've talked about
I don't think so.
Twitter, Snap Inc.
I think the big one is, we're coming up on the holidays, and if you are thinking about your holiday plans and what that might be, there's a great podcast that I just recorded with, there's two. One of them is with Austin Browner from E-Commerce Influence. You could check that out at ecommerceinfluence.com. And there's a podcast on there that we talked about getting around the competition in the holidays, and we'll include this in the link as well.
Yeah.
And then the one I just recorded that's coming out this Friday that we can maybe include depending is with John Loomer, and we talk about what to do during the holidays and how you should kind of phrase that or position yourself in the holidays in terms of ads. It's really competitive, and it's a time that you probably don't want to be going after brand new customers. This is not your time to find new people. This is a time to tell your people about what you have discounted.
This is your tribe time. This is
your tribe.
If you're marketing towards Gracie Foxwell, it's anything organic cotton, lavender, and flannel for Andrew.
There it is. So I think that's time to think about it. If you want to talk about it, we're happy to do that. You can always email us at Andrew at foxwelldigital.com or Gracie at foxwelldigital.com. We look forward
I think
to
we
hearing
need to
from
add
you.
an email address for Wingra.
Wingra is really thrilled by this whole deal, so we're going to give you a little... Totally asleep. Wingra. What? So... yeah, there you go. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that. We'll probably put this on Facebook as well, and people can check it out and watch it. But thanks again for tuning in to the Foxwell Digital Download, and until the next time, keep being a rock star.
Cheers.
Cheers.